Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is interview number 4, and here I have Atik with me. Go ahead and say hello, my friend.
Hey, how's it going? Happy to be here, man. You introduced me. My name's Atik Bhakta. I was at U.S. Nationals 2 weekends ago now, I guess. Made top 16 again this year. That was nice. I know you're doing a lot of interviews, so just, happy to do another one for you.
Yeah, you were one of 5 people to repeat back-to-back top 16, I believe, which is pretty impressive. Yeah.
Well, weren't able to take it home, so that was disappointing.
But you know what? If you don't mind me sharing a little bit, you guys had a really good representation this year from LA specifically. What do you think contributed to that, or do you think it was kind of a?
Yeah, so honestly, I think I was honestly surprised at how many people from LA we had make it in. I know we have quite a few good players, but I wasn't expecting to get as many as we did. We got 5 in the top 16. There were 2 other players who had 2 wins going into their last match, and they actually ended up at a table together, but they both didn't make it in, which is unfortunate to see. But we could have had 7 people in the top 16. So honestly, insane to see. We were doing a lot of scrimmage games before on nationals. The last 3 weeks leading up to it, we were meeting almost every week. There were several meetups. There's a group of 8 of us who were playing pretty consistently almost every week. I think it probably helped a lot. Honestly, my perception going into it was I knew we had solid players. I thought anyone could make top 16. Honestly, sometimes it just depends. If it's your day, it's your day. But I know Brock. He impressed me the most, honestly, out of all the SoCal guys. And to see him win it, obviously I got to play the semifinal table with him. He's a great player. Honestly, it was my interpretation of everything, and well-deserved win for him. But honestly, he impressed me the most out of all the guys we played with, and I think he's been to nationals 6 times and made semis 5 times. And even this past year, he out of the 6 games he played, he won 5, and the one he lost, he ended on 9. So honestly, well played to him. But I think we had a strong group, and I think a lot of the practice sessions we did, we spent a lot of time talking through, what our mistakes were, what we think we could have done better. So I think that definitely helped a lot as well. We have a lot of strong players, so it's fun playing with the guys. It's a lot of good practice, so hopefully we can do more of that going into next year. So we have a strong group of guys, so good to see.
I guess a following question to that is, someone that plays both a lot of online and in-person scrims, would you say there's an advantage to that, or what type of, I guess, what would you tell people that are looking to get into the over-the-board scene? Do you think they should play a lot more in-person scrims to get better experiences, or should they also additionally practice online and try to get that going too?
So I think from a personal perspective, since I've played mostly online, one of the hardest things to transition to is when I don't really the way I got into Catan was I played 2 games with some friends, and I really liked it, but I could never get a group consistently together to play. So I ended up seeing Delighted's video 2 years ago about all these in-person play in these Discord leagues, and I started playing on Colonist. And when you're playing in person versus actually on the board, they're honestly, it's almost, I would go as far as to say it's almost like you're playing 2 completely different games.
Yeah.
Because I had played hundreds of games online before the first time I went to nationals last year, and one of the hardest things for me was just being able to see the board and being able to visualize how placements would go. It was so hard to see what the correct placements were, when online it's so obvious because the board, it's so easy to see, everything's in front of you. And I think that going into this year, I definitely think I'm a much better player than I was last year. But I'm going to get into that a bit later. I think I still made a lot of key mistakes, but I think to get to your question in terms of what the main challenges are online versus on the board, it's good to get in-person practice on the board, and that's one of the main reasons I wanted to do a lot of scrimmages in person, is just getting a feel for being able to see the board better when you're playing it in person. And also, I have a nasty habit of not rolling the dice when I play in person because it's just so automated online. I think I went to a qualifier this year in Texas with Julia. So for those of you who don't know Julia, she was also at nationals this last year. She's also a very good player. But basically, I went to a qualifier, and we in our table 3 game. It was a very close game. She ended up winning it, and I ended on 9. But after the game, she specifically was like, you missed rolling the dice like 5 or 6 times during that game. And I was just like, and that could have been the difference. So
For sure.
yeah, it's something I want to get more practice doing. I think I've gotten better with it, just with more reps, being able to get those scrimmages in, going into nationals. I think I'm a lot better at seeing the board now as well. But also, I feel like if you play a lot online and you transition to in person, one of the other things that's just extremely difficult to get a handle on is just being able to see everything all at once. It's very easy to lose track of like, oh, this person has a really good setup, because when you're looking at it in person, you see all the points, you see all the devs. It's all the info. You just look at it and it's all right there. It's very easy to take it in very quickly. But when you're looking at it over the board, it's very easy to like lose track of something, because you have to like manually count points. You have to manually count how many devs are there. And if someone buys a new dev, you have to update the mental tracker. It's very hard to keep track of all the pieces of information. So I think those are the 2 hardest things that I think, if you're transitioning from online to over the board, those are hard things to just keep track of, in my opinion.
I've asked this question to the other guys too, but I'm curious on your take of it. So in the preliminary games, I'm assuming you got some random players that you've never met before and some players that you were familiar with or new. How do you think you should navigate those type of tournament games where you're more familiar with some of the other players than others, maybe?
So I think I actually got a very favorable draw. I think my first 2 games, I don't think anyone recognized me. I don't think anyone knew me. So that was good. I ended up winning both of those games. I also just rolled really well in those games. They were almost complete stomps, and it ended up helping me later in the table point percentage situation. When you get people, my third table, I had Shazzy at my table.
Oh, no.
He was a finalist last year.
Yeah.
And he was first pick. He got a really good setup, but going into the game, we talked to each other a little bit. He came to me and was like, I just want to make sure we're not hitting each other to start the game. Because I know with a lot of times when online players play together, if you think someone's strong, you'll end up like hitting each other over and over again. I honestly have never enjoyed playing that way. For me, it's like each game is new. I know some people go into a game with like, I'm going to target this person. And I really just don't like playing like that, because I feel like to be an elite Catan player, I think you have to be extremely flexible and be able to adapt to a situation. And when you're putting yourselves in those situations where like, I have to hit this person, you lose track of what's important on the board. Although I regret telling him that I would be willing to work with him, because he ended up with a very insane setup and I wanted to rob him from the jump. But because I had told him like, let's not rob each other, even though he had the best setup, it made me hesitant to like rob him. And it was a complete stomp. And I honestly picked very poorly in that game as well. So it was a bit rough, but I honestly enjoy more playing that way, is like being able to collaborate with people. I don't like it when you're just, oh, I think you're good, so I'm just going to rob you the entire game. I think it makes it very hard for either of you to win the game, and I'd rather just collaborate and give myself a chance to win, the other person a chance to win. I enjoy that style of game a lot more than getting into those like 1v1s or 1v3 type of situations.
Did you have any either technical issues or situations where you had to call a judge over, or anything that you would probably never experience in like an online game?
So we didn't. I think I was very fortunate. We didn't have any technical issues with the timer, which I think was not true for anyone else. I think everyone else has been saying they had massive issues with the timer. None of my 5 games I played had any issues with the timer. Ran very smoothly. I think the only issue was sometimes people forgot to hit pass on the clock. Yeah. But no one ran out of time bank in any of my first 4 games. The 4th game I played, one issue that we did run into where you normally wouldn't see it is the girl across from me, she rolled a 7. And instead of moving the robber, she immediately she had a city left over and she was like, I'm building a city. And then someone was like, oh, you didn't move the robber. And I was like, oh, it's going out the desert. is going on in the desert. They're like, no, like she hasn't even placed the city down yet. And I was like, no, she exchanged the cards for the bank. Like shit goes to the desert. I didn't want to get robbed, obviously, so I was like, desert. And then we called the judge over, and they were like, yeah, you're gonna have to put it on the desert. So I mean, that was something that ended up working to my advantage. But I mean, to your point about playing against people that you know, at my fourth table, it was actually me, another guy from LA, Ron, who he also did pretty well. I think he ended up with 1 win. He almost won the second game, as the fourth game we were playing together as well. But I had so many regrets going into that game because, like I said, that third game I played with Shazzy, it was a bit of a stomp. I ended on 7 points. So I had won my first 2 games. Third game, I got 7 points. Fourth game, I thought the cut was going to be 37. So
you knew you needed a win or 9, right? Basically,
I thought I needed a win.
Yeah.
So I was like, I need to win this last game. I screwed up my third game. I made disaster placement decisions. I was lucky to get to 7, and I knew I needed the win going into the last one, having not gotten 8 points in the third game. But like I said, I ended up getting Ron at my table, and we've played games together. And I got a good setup to start. I will say it was a good setup to start. I don't know if you have the boards or you remember them too well, but I got the 6-5-11 with the 6-5-11. It was the or 6-5-3. I think it was 6-5-3 with the double wheat or round 4. It was the isolated ore with the double wheat, and then I got 8-9 with the wood sheep on the way back, with the wheat port. So it was a strong setup, but I definitely thought that board. 3 of the 4 of us got strong setups. I think Ron, he placed 4th, and he had a weak setup, but the 11s rolled a ton in my game, which was a huge advantage for him and the other girl who jumped out to a strong lead. But he was talking me up from the jump, and I had fallen behind. I was on like 3 points. The road player, she was on like 5 points with an early city because she just rolled so well to start, and it was tough to get us to work together. To start, and I wish, like, if we had played less games together, I think it would have helped me a lot more, because I think he wouldn't have talked me up as much as he did.
For sure.
But I mean, that's where sometimes it can work with you, sometimes it can work against you. And no disrespect to him for talking me up, because again, I had a strong setup for sure to start, but I wish we had pivoted a little bit earlier. But it ended up being a really close game at the end. She ended up drying out on rolls while she was on 9 points, and that allowed a lot of us to catch back up into the game. But she ended up taking the win at the end. But it ended up being like 10-9-9-7. Ron ended on 7, but he had a road builder. So if he was able to like road settle, he could have taken road and actually won as well. So it was a very close game to close it out. But after that last game, honestly, I thought I was out 10-10, 7-9, 36. I didn't think it was going to be enough, but it was, like I said, with Catan, sometimes it's your day, and it was my day, because I think I did the math on it, and I looked at the tables, and there were 21 tables played in the 4th round, and 12 of the 21 people who won had no chance of making it into the next round. I feel like if 1 or 2 of those tables went to one of the people who had a chance, I would have been out. It would have been 37 cutoff, but lucky me, my first 2 games were stomps. I had the highest table percentage of anyone with 36 points. So that ended up working out in my favor. I was able to barely make it in, which honestly, the way I played this year, I think I made a lot of mistakes. I think I got a little too cocky after winning the first 2 games. So I don't think I deserved to make it to top 16, but sometimes it's your day, and it was my day. So I was happy to make it in. Semifinal game didn't go as well. I ended up not rolling too many cards. It was a fun table to play, though, and definitely made some mistakes in my semifinal as well. I think I could have done more to have given myself a chance maybe at the end, but it ended up working out. Brock was at my semifinal table. He ended up winning, and then he ended up winning the final as well. So
absolutely,
I mean, it was nice to have one of the LA guys take it home, since there were 5 of us. So
Naveed kind of hinted a little bit at you guys having a kind of a setup for top 16. I'm curious if you had like any insight on like what you could share, because a lot of us didn't see like either like the room you guys were getting into or the setup they were doing, kind of like what led to that top 16 experience, like when you guys went upstairs.
Yeah, so I actually got there a little bit late. So I didn't really do too much. I think he was being streamed, so I think they asked him to do a bit more. But for me, honestly, I just went up. I was having stomach issues the entire weekend, so I wasn't really eating much personally. So I didn't really eat any of the breakfast. I just sat around. I talked to some of the guys. I talked to Brock. I talked to Brett, Noisepond, who were both going to be at my table. I talked to Pip as well, who was the fourth player at my table. Then I talked to some of the other guys, just get to know them a little bit. But other than that, I mean, we just walked into the room at the end with the six. There's 4 tables in one room, and the streaming table is kind of off to one side with all the cameras and stuff. And then there's 3 tables in relative proximity to each other for the other 12 of us. I think the only like drama that really happened was I think everyone was kind of expecting Dandy Drew's table to be streamed just because he has a huge following. He won last year. He had 4 wins, which is an insane accomplishment for anyone to win all 4 of their games going into it. But then I think they ended up streaming. I think I heard that they streamed a table with a woman on it. Honestly, being a guy, I guess it's like hard to comment on those kinds of things because, yeah, to a degree, I agree representation is important, but I think in this specific scenario, considering Drew is the national champion, 4 wins, huge narrative, going to huge following, the amount of eyes you can get on the stream, I think it's always nice to get more eyes. I think it would have been nice to stream Drew's game, but I'm not going to say it was the right decision or wrong decision either way. I do think, to some degree, representation is important. I would have liked to see Drew's table personally get streamed because 2 of the LA guys were there. I thought it would have been a great table because for those who are watching, I guess, and don't know, one of the insane things about Drew's game is also 2 of the LA guys that were at his table, Isaiah and Anthony, they played him in the round 1 game, and they all ended up at the same top 16 draw again, which is insane.
Yeah.
And honestly, playing with Isaiah, he's very vocal. I know Drew is also very vocal. I would have really liked to see the dynamic personally.
Clash, yeah.
Yeah. But the table that got streamed, I think Squash was there. Naveed was there. I don't remember the guy who won.
I think Anthony won that table, right? Or maybe not.
Anthony won Drew's table, yes. Okay, I don't know who won Squash's table. I forgot the guy. I don't know the guy's name. But yeah, I don't know. I think their game was also a lot closer, so probably would have been a better watch. I think the table that ended up getting streamed, it just ended up being, I think it was competitive between just the 2. I think it was Navid and the guy who won. It was basically a 2-player game at the end there. And then I think it was a double play to win.
Right?
But yeah.
No, I mean, it happens. I think
the crazier thing was, sorry, you were going to ask something?
No. Go ahead. I was just going to make it.
I think the craziest thing was at Drew's table, there was a 1-card mono, and at the table that was streamed, there was a 1-card mono, which I feel like, that has to be nerves to some degree for some of these guys who are playing the game. It's, like I said, over the board is a different experience. You don't have the bank on your right. You can't see things at all. You gotta use the noggin. You gotta keep track of cards. It's hard to keep track of information, and these things happen sometimes. I'm sure nerves play into it a little bit as well. But for 2 people to misplay Monopoly that badly, like I feel like that's something that probably haunts you a little bit. When I know Navid said it wasn't a big deal, and he has that kind of personality. As well, but for some guys, you're a top 16. It's the difference. You don't know if you're making it back next year with the new format and all of that as well. So I don't know. For me, when I lose games, I like, especially these top 16 games these last 2 years. Just wasn't able to make it all the way. I think about them a lot. Like, was there turns I could have done something better? What, were there specific instances? That one roll, that one, was there a better setup I could have taken? Just so many what ifs, and you hate to just misplay something that, you probably played so many monos in your life. If it's a Catan player, like, to just misplay it a little bit and end up with 1 card, that's brutal.
Yeah, no, it almost makes me wonder if, like, maybe the pressure of like being on the camera or whatever makes an influence to that. But interestingly enough, to your point, I think Anthony was taking notes on the rolls with a notepad. I think I saw him or someone on one of those tables do that. So it's kind of
Yeah, and he even shared we actually met up like last weekend to play some games and also just talk about our finals experience, see if we can get any insight for next year, and just to talk to them, see how their games went, give a chance for everyone to kind of share their experiences. And Anthony actually brought the final table, the rolls that happened.
Yeah.
And it was honestly crazy. I think Barack was on coordinated fives. He was on a 2 and a 10 wheat, and the 2 wheat rolled more than the 10. I think it rolled like 4 or 5 times according to Anthony's notes. But the fives rolled 13 times.
Yeah.
And Brock is a great player, but sometimes when it's your day, it's your day. And in the semifinal, he took coordinated fives, and he was the only player on fives on the board. And they rolled a ton at the end to help him clinch it out the end. And to see him pick the same numbers in the finals and for them to pay off for him as well, sometimes it's your day. And he just rolled a ton of cards. And, playing Catan, the number one thing to winning is
cards.
In my opinion, is just rolling cards.
Yeah.
And roll more cards, you got a better chance to win. So that's just what it comes down to sometimes. I know Drew last year, I think he pulled 10 devs, he got 7 VPs. I don't think you can win US Nationals without being a good player, but you also need the luck. You need both. It has to be your day, and you have to know what to do with the cards. You have to know what trades to make. You have to know what actions to do in what moments. You have to say the right things in the right moments. And I think Brock just has the personality where he's always like very calm, cool, collected. I don't think I've ever seen him raise his voice. He just always says things in the same steady state. A very easy guy to listen to. And I think that helps them a lot as well. So I think those are things that, for the guys looking at tips and tricks they can take into next year. I think just a lot of people, they get upset. They start raising their voice a little bit. People don't really like seeing that. And that plays into the social aspect of it as well. So, just tips and tricks to take into next year. I think I'd definitely like to incorporate some of that into my gameplay, just being able to brush things off a little bit more. Just go with the flow.
It's a bit of a mental game, right?
Yeah. For sure.
No, for sure. Well, is there anything you're looking forward to next year? I'm assuming you're going to also try to qualify in LA again or in another similar area.
Yeah, probably just going to be LA for me. I think it's going to be tough to qualify in LA just because I saw the preliminary ideas for map groupings. It's going to be Texas, California, and Seattle all in one region. So honestly, I would say there's about 8 contenders I would consider for the top 4 spots, and then probably another 4 to 6 like fringe contenders because, like I said, sometimes it's just about a little bit of luck. So to have a pool of like almost 14 people competing for 4 spots, that's hard. I think the Midwest region, from the player pool I'm aware of, I think there's like 3 solid contenders, and then there's probably a lot of fringe candidates. So that I think if you're looking to game the system a little bit, just from the preliminary things I saw in terms of how they're planning to group out the maps, I think Midwest might be the region to go to if you're looking to travel. But I know a lot of the East Coast guys are probably facing the same thing where there's a ton of contenders for the top 4 spots. And then I actually have 3 Masters points after this year, but I actually looked at the Masters table once it was updated, and there's 64 people exactly with 4 or more points. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to play in Masters, because I know in the past that people with 1 point have made it in, but that's because no one wants to play Masters because it's kind of pointless. There's no incentive for a lot of people to play Masters because it's on a Friday. You have to take time off work. It's a bunch of random games, so a lot of people put them transitioning to base. I think they'll get a lot more. I think almost everyone who has points is probably going to compete.
I think I also only have 3 points, and it's going to come down to how many of them accept the invitation, I believe, right?
Yep. Yep.
But
then there's a ton of people with 3 points after. So I don't know how they're going to decide who makes it in versus who doesn't. I hope they don't just go. They have like
hey, that'd be
they
good
have
for
bad
you.
habits of doing questionable things. So I hope they don't just do something like first come first serve, which honestly I feel like
that could work too. Probably they're just gonna send it all at the same time.
I just hope. I just hope it's something more like maybe the more recent top 16 or more recent finalists get the first pick who have 3 points. Something that's a bit more fair, because I feel like a finalist in the last 2 to 5 years is a lot more noteworthy than maybe people who have been hoarding points for like 6-8 years when the tournaments were like 30-40 people. I don't think it's as fair for those people who got top 16 to be held in the same light as people who are consistently making top 16 now with 120, 150 people tournaments. I think that speaks a lot more. But obviously I'm biased because I've made top 16 the last 2 years, so that would favor me. So but I feel like that's more merit based, just as a personal anecdote.
No,
I don't know.
I agree with you. They should be rewarding people that are more active, more consistent, playing in more events. It's something to keep.
Well, let's see how it goes. Yeah, but to answer your question more directly, I guess in terms of like what I'll be playing in the LA circuit most likely, in terms of being able to make top 4, Brock won't be playing, so I guess that improves the odds just a little bit. So happy to see him gone. But I think it'll be a lot of tough competition, a lot of good players, and honestly, the thing I am most not looking forward to is I think I've developed quite the reputation for myself these last 2 years. So I'm a little nervous about I've been able to skate a little bit these last 2 years. But I don't know if that's going to fly, and I'm a little nervous to see what might happen when I come into some of these boards. I hate, like I said, I hate those games where you're just getting targeted, you're not able to work with people, because that's a huge part of Catan, I hate feeling like you're out of the game at the start just because you get hit a little too many times, and then you can definitely get taken out of games at the start if you do get a bit too overrobbed or anything like that. But we'll have to see how it goes. I guess there's a lot of strong players, so hopefully it balances out, Yeah. A lot of big names, I guess.
Absolutely. I guess kind of to close out, a little fun question. Anybody that's looking to get into Catan, or anybody that's, thinking about playing in tournaments, what would you advise? What would be your bit of information you'd share?
Yeah, so I think, and honestly, funny you asked this because I actually hosted my first qualifier this year after I'd qualified.
Yeah.
And my sister actually came with me. She's played a few Catan games in her life. But she came with me to help set up boards and do all of that stuff. And she was just going to stay for a little bit. She ended up staying almost the entire day. And she actually had a lot of fun just like watching people play the games. She didn't really understand a lot of it. But she thought it was so cool how there were so many people who came out to play and how competitive people got. And she actually was like, how do I play more games? So for people who are like just starting out, I think the best way, it's hard to get games in person, right? Especially if, it's hard to convince your family or friends, you just don't have enough time. I think one of the best ways if you're trying to get into it, and this is what I've told her as well, is playing games on Colonist. Is just a huge way to you can find 3 other people, get games in, you get some reps in. If you're very interested in being a competitive player, I think one of the biggest things, and this is something I recommended to my sister as well, is those Delighted and Danny Drew videos about like placements, those strategy videos. I think those are instrumental to watch for almost any player who's just getting into Catan, just getting a feel for being able to predict placements, and then also just understanding what are the different kinds of setups? What's the basic strategy of Catan? Because when you get into it, there's basically 3 ways to win a game of Catan, right? There's Road, there's Build to 10, and then there's Army. The 3 basic strategies, and then the 4th strategy is 4 cities longest road, which is kind of a variant, I feel like, a little bit, but that falls into longest road. But I feel like that's a strong enough variant to merit like its own kind of pool of strategy. And then understanding like the different kinds of ways you can win with those setups. Like if you're a road player, you want that one VP, right? If you don't have strong ore and wheat, if you or ore wheat sheep, depending on how strong your ore and wheat tiles on, do you city early or do you dev early? That kind of comes with practice. But I think being able to watch, if you want to be a competitive player, I think you have to watch those videos. They'll give you a huge leg up in terms of being able to understand the games a little bit better. They definitely helped me a lot when I was new. And I think a lot of people, when they first start, they're like, oh, I need to watch a lot of videos. Outside of those placement videos, I wouldn't bother watching almost any videos. It's too hard to understand what players are doing when you yourself have not put in enough reps. You kind of, once you understand the basic strategy, those videos are important to watch. But after that, you just need to play games. And then after you've played maybe 300, 400 games on your own, then maybe go watch some videos of some of the top players playing. And just the questions I always ask myself is, why is this person doing what they're doing? Why did they take this trade? What cards are they trying to get in their hand? What are they hoping rolls? Are they doing it to set up their hand? Are they doing it for a specific action? Is it giving them an advantage? Being able to like understand that a little bit better after you've gotten the reps in. I feel like that's kind of the standard progression. If you're a new player just getting into it, that I would kind of follow. I think that's kind of you don't need to pay a bunch of money for lessons or anything like that starting out. I think the number one teacher is just playing. You have to play games. I think that's the most important part. The lessons aren't going to be as effective. I feel like even if you pay for them or even if you like watch other people play, it's just not as effective when you yourself don't have a fundamental understanding of the game yet. So that's my advice to anyone looking to get into Catan as a new player. I think that's a solid place to start.
Oh, absolutely. I definitely agree with you on all points there. Well, hey, man, no, I really appreciate your time today and you kind of deep diving everything that we went through. Is there any, I guess, anything you want to close out with? Kind of like a last piece of advice?
No, I mean, no advice for me. I think, personally, I think I'm looking forward to a lot of things just with Catan. I hope I'm able to make top 16 next year. The last 2 years I've made top 16, but haven't been able to make it kind of to the final table. Some of that being mistakes, some of that being dice just didn't roll in my favor a little bit. So hoping for that next year. I'm excited to see the new format, to see, to get to play with a lot of the guys. I hope they group Texas in with LA, because I like playing with a lot of the Texas people. They're a lot of fun.
I think so too.
Sort of that, I'm a big part of the Discord leagues. I play a lot in champs. I just started playing in PCL as well, the last couple seasons. So I think for anyone looking to get good, get better, I think the Discord leagues are a huge part of what have made me, I like to think I'm a good player. I don't know.
You are.
We'll leave that up for debate or whatever, but that's been a huge part of it. So I feel like those leagues, they help a lot just in terms of you get to play with a lot of different people, get to see a lot of different mindsets, a lot of good players there. So definitely gives you a better appreciation for being able to play games. And I still think personally, playing at US Nationals versus playing on the online Discord leagues, I think on the online Discord leagues, it's a much higher level of Catan than when you play in person. Just because I think the rules also kind of allow for it a little bit, but also I think it builds a lot of like creativity, being able to see, building a lot of vision into like what are good trades, bad trades. I think playing online, it builds a lot of the creativity that you need to become a very solid, very strong player, in my opinion. So I'll always advocate for anyone who's looking to get more experience and exposure to go play in the Discord leagues. And you can always sign up for those for free. So Catan Champs is a great place to start. That's kind of where I started. So huge shout out to them. For anyone looking to get better at the game. But that's it for me. Thanks for bringing me on, man. Appreciate the time.
No, absolutely.
Always a pleasure.
We'll hopefully catch each other in a final soon. All right.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
You too.